following program contains mature themes on a thematic subject. Viewer discretion is strictly advised. State of the Nation is an opinion-based program. The thoughts and opinions shared within this program are not intended to offend or disregard anyone's perspectives or beliefs. We aim to foster open dialogue, encourage critical thinking, and explore thought-provoking subjects. Recognizing the importance of diversity and inclusion, this program welcomes all viewpoints and cherishes the right to express them freely. This program also contains the opinions of the participants and does not reflect the views and beliefs of the Derana Media Network. The network believes in a safe space for all ideas to be expressed and on its duty to create such a platform for free speech. Viewer discretion is strictly advised.
Whatever side of the political fence you're on, we should all agree that free speech is still a really good thing. It always has been. And it always will be. But now there's factions of people go, oh no, we got it, we don't like it, we've changed our mind, it wasn't going well for us, we don't like free speech anymore. People who want free speech, they only want free speech so they can go around saying awful things, which just isn't true. And even if it was, the good thing about free speech is people can say awful things back. It's a really good system, right? And you can't say anything under the laws of free speech. That's a total misconception. There are loads of caveats to free speech, all of which I agree with, actually. You can't incite violence. Good rule. You can't slander people. Good rule. You can't libel people, you know? But free speech is the most important human right there is. It's the right from which all other rights come. Without free speech, you couldn't have human rights, you know? And we've got free speech, in theory, in this country, for a little while longer. We can criticise the government, we can criticise the police, but we should give props to a country that allows us to do that, because we're the envy of some countries. In some countries, you criticise the police, you get beaten up, or worse. You criticise the government, you can be thrown in jail for life, you know. So they flee their oppression, quite rightly. You know, so would you. They flee their oppression, and they come here, they go, we want to come to England. We go, why? They go, free speech. We go, come on in, welcome. What are you going to do now? We're going to go on a march. What are you going to say? How shit England is. Cheers. Thank you. Thank you. That is their right.
It's 2026. Now, as we step into 2026, many of us are embracing the familiar phrase, New Year, New Beginnings. Now, for Sri Lankans, that hope extends far beyond personal resolutions. It carries the shared dream of a stronger, more prosperous nation for all 22 million of us. Last year brought fresh disruptions to the fragile stability we had worked so hard to rebuild. And once again, the economy will dominate our national conversation. We are now steadily approaching a pivotal milestone, the resumption of debt repayments, which will test the sustainability of our recovery. So what does 2026 really hold for Sri Lankans? In just a moment, on the premiere episode of our new season, I'll be joined live by our special guest to explore the economic outlook, the opportunities ahead, and the practical steps needed to turn hope into lasting progress. For insights, analysis, and opinions, on this show, I will speak to the Deputy Minister of Industries and Entrepreneurship Development, Chathuranga Abeysinge, Deputy Minister of Digital Economy, Eranga Weeraratne, Leader of the Sarvajana Balaya, Parliamentarian Dilith Jayaweera, Member of our nation's main opposition, the SJB Parliamentarian Mano, Ganeshan, President of the Ceylon United Business Alliance, Taniya Abeysundara, Chairman of Idea Group, Nalin Welgama, CEO of Advocata, Dananath Fernando, and political economist Shiran Illanperuma. Greetings, I am Mahieash Johnney, and this is the State of the Nation. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to the season premiere of State of the Nation. It's wonderful to have you joining us today as we begin an exciting new chapter together of this program. Now, over the next 6 months, we've committed to bringing you clear, insightful coverage of the key issues shaping Sri Lanka. We'll break down complex developments, share reliable data and analysis, and help you connect the bigger picture to the decisions that matters in your daily life, whether it's planning for your family's future, your business, or simply staying informed. Well, my expert panel will be joining me in just a moment, but before we dive in, now, as we step into this brand new year, I think many of us pause for a moment and wonder, what will 2026 bring? We all carry that quiet hope, don't we? That this will be the year things finally will turn around in our favor. Better opportunities, more stability, brighter days for ourselves and the people we love. Yet, if we're being honest with each other, life has a way of reminding us how unpredictable it can be. Just when we think we've found our footing, something unexpected comes along and shakes everything up. Many of us felt that deeply last year when Cyclone Dilith struck. After 2025 that had felt for once like we were on a steady plateau, making slow progress, the storm arrived and turned lives upside down overnight. Families lost homes, businesses were devastated, and we all rallied together just to get through it. My heart still goes out to everyone who went through that hardship. Now, one of the hardest things I think is that we often forget the lessons these moments try to teach us. We rebuild, we move forward, and somehow we are still caught off guard when the next challenge appears. Maybe that's the gentle challenge waiting for us in 2026, to remember what we've learned, to prepare a little better, and to look out for one another a little more. But I truly believe this can be a year of real growth for our economy, for our communities, for the way we come together as one nation. There's so much strength in us when we support each other, and I'm hopeful we'll see more of that in the months ahead. So, let's get an analysis as to what economically Sri Lanka might be heading in 2026. Joining me now is Abeysinge, who's at the data board today. And good to see you, Anuradhi. Happy New Year. In your opinion, what does 2026 look like?
Yes, Mahieash, and wishing you a very happy new year as well. Thankfully, in the great year of 2026, State of the Nation is back, and hopefully we can give the relevant information to all the audience that would be tuning in to watch us, specifically relating to what exactly the current economic condition looks like. And as you very rightly pointed out, there are lots of indicators that show that post-cyclone Dilith, Sri Lanka's economy is not on as stable footing as we would have expected it to be. Considering the data, the infrastructural sectors of Sri Lanka's economy was what was hardest hit, 42.4% or $1.735 billion in damages. And as you can see, the rest of the data of the other sectors also is quite alarming. Now, the question remains, will the government use this crisis as an opportunity to turn it around and actually ensure that we will have much more stable footing in the months to come? Or will Cyclone Dilith be the full stop in economic recovery for this specific regime? That's what we want to delve into for the following information. Take a look, Mahieash. In 2025, Sri Lanka returned to positive growth, with GDP expanding in the low to mid-single-digit range, supported largely by tourism, remittances and services. Inflation, which had peaked above 70% during the crisis, fell back into the single-digit range, but for households, the pressure never truly disappeared. Food prices, electricity tariffs and transport costs, along with taxation, continued to strain disposable incomes. Revenue targets were met largely through taxation, while interest payments continued to consume a significant share of government income, limiting spending on welfare, climate resilience and investment. Following Cyclone Dilith, early estimates put economic damage in the billions of rupees, with agriculture, housing and transport infrastructure among the worst affected. Crop losses have increased the risk of flood inflation, while reconstruction spending is expected to widen fiscal pressures in 2026, forcing difficult trade-offs between recovery and fiscal discipline. The government continues to project growth close to 5%, driven partly by reconstruction and services. However,
However, global financial institutions place Sri Lanka's 2026 growth closer to 3% to 4%, citing climate shocks, limited fiscal space and persistent external vulnerabilities. In 2025, the exchange rate weakened with renewed pressure on the rupee as imports, debt servicing needs and reserve management tightened. Foreign direct investment once again fell short of targets, reinforcing concerns that Sri Lanka is still struggling to attract long-term stable capital. The budget deficit for 2026 has been revised upwards to 6.5% of GDP from an earlier estimate of 5.1%, reflecting a further weakening of the fiscal position compared to 4.5% of GDP deficit projected for 2025. At the same time, the primary surplus forecast for 2026 has been sharply scaled back to 1% of GDP from the previously projected 2.5% and stands well below the 3.8% surplus recorded in 2025. It is a direct blow on fiscal consolidation efforts of the government. Chair Professor of Business Economics in the Faculty of Management and Finance of the University of Colombo, Dr. H.D. Weeraratne, emphasized that tourism has been positioned as a cornerstone of recovery and arrivals have improved, but tourism alone cannot sustain macroeconomic stability. Without stronger export diversification, productivity growth and investment, gains remain fragile.
But we have to change many things in the economy if we want to get 5% economic growth or more than that. However, the remittances, tourism and conventional exports are not the way to break through the economic growth path, so that we believe in particularly the logistics sector. The Sri Lanka should capitalize the location because the South Asia is most dynamic area. We know that India, total GDP of India exceeded Japan's total GDP, so that the many people eyeing the South Asian vibrant economic situation. So this is the great opportunity. We need to create as much as possible the production economy, converting to production economy.
The culmination of these qualms come to a head at the eventual external debt repayment. From 2028, Sri Lanka is expected to resume regular foreign debt servicing following restructuring. Projections show that this will require growth consistently above 3%, continued primary budget surpluses and stable reserves and uninterrupted reforms. As the country looks ahead to 2026 and beyond, the key question remains on whether this expected recovery is strong enough to survive the next shock, or is it still one setback away from reversal.
So Mahieash, as previously explained, unfortunately, we're not on steady footing at the moment. Hopefully, though, upon advice of economists and economic experts, we can try and steer the economy in a much more sustainable direction. At the moment, it's all in the hands of the government on exactly how they are going to continue to react to the crises that will continue to pop up across the country. Hopefully, we can see a turnaround in the positive direction in the months to come. Over to you, Mahieash.
Indeed, well, good stuff. Anuradha Wickramasinghe at the data board. Thank you very much. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, my full panel will be here live in this studio. This is the season premiere of State of the Nation, and we are so glad that you're with us this morning. We'll be right back. Once again, a warm welcome to the season premiere of State of the Nation. Well, we've been in hiatus for around 6 months, and now we are back for the next 6 months. Our aim is very simple: bring you information from all across the lives of Sri Lanka, and to make sure that we give you an informed information where you can make an informed decision about your life, about the economy, about what's happening to this country. So this program is mostly opinionated, and we get lots of opinions into the show because it is very vital that we hear from various walks of lives. Just one note is not going to sing the song properly. As I told you earlier on, the whole panel is here And I'm delighted to get into the conversation. So let me start introducing them. Joining me today in the new year, Dananath Fernando, once again, CEO of Advocata. Welcome back and Happy New Year, Dananath.
Happy New Year,
Mahieash. Once again, I think you joined us on the 50th episode, and thank you for coming back. And of course, Mrs. Taniya, Abeysundara, who be not a stranger to State of the Nation at all. Welcome back. The president of Ceylon United Business Alliance. Really great to have you, and Happy New Year. Thank you for being here.
Happy New Year, Mahieash. Thank you for having me, and it's always a delight to be at
Indeed, hopefully a lively conversation. Joining us once again is Deputy Minister Chathuranga Abeysinge. He is the Deputy Minister of Industries and Entrepreneurship Development. Welcome back to the show. Happy New Year to you as well, Minister. Thank you for being here. Of course, Deputy Minister Eranga Weeraratne, who is in charge of the digital economy, he just flew into the country and made sure that he joined us, despite the fact that I'm pretty sure you are jet lagged.
That's right.
So, anyways, once again, welcome to the program, Minister, and Happy New Year to you as well.
Happy New Year.
Joining us for the first time is one seasoned politician in Sri Lanka, I think over 25 years, am I right? 25 years? In politics?
Yeah, maybe, yes. I don't look, no.
I think 1999 was the time that you came into politics. I was in school, I remember.
Viewers will not believe it.
Yeah.
The spectators who are looking at me through the camera won't believe it.
He looks 25, that's
Exactly. You don't look...
Sorry, I did.
Say that again, parliamentary?
The spectators, our friends looking at me through your camera would not believe it.
No, we don't. I'm also trying to figure out how come you have done 25 years of politics and you look like just a 20-year-old.
Yes.
I think Dananath looks older. Parliamentarian, SJB parliamentarian Mano, the leader of the Tamil Progressive Alliance. Welcome to the show. Really nice to have you, sir. And of course, a well-known figure to us and to all of us here at Derana as well, parliamentarian Dilith Jayaweera, leader of the Sarvajana Balaya, a major entrepreneur who has actually done a lot too in the business field, and now he is taking over politics as well. Thank you, Mr. Dilith, for being here, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you and Shiran.
And of course, joining us once again is the chairman of the Ideal Group, Mr. Nalin Welgama. Good to see you once again. Thank you for being here. Happy New Year to you as well. And of course, the person, I keep making fun of his looks in terms of a baby look, but still he's one of the strong political economists out there. Shiran, Illanperuma, Happy New Year to you as well, Shiran, and thank you for being here.
Happy New Year, Mahieash. I hope to look older in this year. Let's see.
Taking on the seasoned politicians and businessmen. Well, the conversation today is pretty simple, figuring out 2026. What exactly is in store for you? You ask the government will say 100%, no problem, everything is hunky-dory. You ask the opposition say, no, there is a lot of problems going on. As the business community, they will tell you what exactly is happening on the ground level, and then you have the think tanks or the economists who will give us an indicator as to where the country is going. And that's exactly what we have assembled here in order to give various viewpoints so that these ideas can clash and we can find a better solution. I'm sure the government is very open for ideas, and whatever that they are doing right now, whether it's working on the ground and they want to get a feedback as well, and the opposition would be doing exactly that. So let's get into the conversation, and I really quickly want to go without taking a lot of time. Let me start from Dananath. What do you think 2026 is going to be? Because 2025 was year of, for me, in my opinion, it was like the year of the plateau, where we stabilized a little bit and we came strongly, and then at the end we got hit one. There was a little bit of a jumble there. But what do you think 2026 is going to be? What kind of a year would it be?
I would like 2026 to be the foundation for economic growth, because if we really want to see the Sri Lanka that we all want to see, it has to be on the trajectory of growth. The economy is stable after the 2022 crisis. All indicators indicate the same. But growth-wise, while we achieved 5% in 2024 and 25, likely we will be in the 4.9% to 5%. 2026 and 7 onwards, we have to shift our gears to a stronger growth with more global integration, and that's what I would like to be for 2026.
Mrs. Taniya?
What can I say? As an entrepreneur, as an SME organization, I always would wish the best for this year. But the saddest part is wishing best is not the case. I mean, we got to look at reality. Like Dananath was saying, 2025 was, it was a stable grounds. There was no hike, so hope was building up. But of course, with the hope building up is one part, but with the effects that happened was another part. So with the effect, I believe 2025, like your analyst also just mentioned, and she was also evaluating, exports is the key. Bringing in people to invest is the other opportunity. Other thing is mainly sustainability of the SMEs going forward. That is the most important thing. Most important.
We'll get into all that. Minister, what do you think 2026 is going to be? What exactly is the government targeting it to be?
Yeah, I think it's the continuation of the growth trajectory we made. So I think it's an extremely positive outlook we have. And I categorically disagree with the analysis that happened just before that. Because we are on a trajectory in a framework of economics, and all the numbers have tallied. And the changes that we are making after the DITWA is not impacting any of those indicators at all. So especially if you really look at the export side, we see certain sectors growing beyond 20%, and I think we can keep pushing that. And the FDIs have started coming. I think it's another year of stability will make it better. So we are working very hard on the global integration, as Dananath mentioned, on the trade policy and the tariff policy, which will give us a greater opportunity. And on the SME side, I think this will be an extremely good year for SMEs. Now this itself, on the credit guarantee scheme, there's 1,068 SMEs have taken credit, and the private credit is increasing at 24%. So I think this year we have given enough support on the budget also for the SME sector. So we see a positivity on that.
Minister?
Yeah, I think Mahieash, as previous speakers were talking about, the economy and the development was plateau, but at the same time we have built a very good solid foundation. So both economy, even the digital economy and so on, the foundation we have laid. Of course, DITWA has made a little bit of step back, but even though that the budget allocation for the 2026 have never been impacted by the DITWA, the issues that was caused. Therefore, like the development activities will continue to happen in the 2026, and we are getting tremendous support from both local and foreign Sri Lankans, expats, as well as other nations for our development of the country. Therefore, without any impact by the DITWA, the development trajectory will happen in 2026 as well.
Parliamentarian, what's the opposition's view?
Now, we should consider 26 is opening up with the end of last year's DITWA disaster. Could take it as opportunity in disguise, obviously. I have no doubt about it. But let's see how the export, tourism, FDIs are going to fare. So, as a parliamentarian, as a party leader, I wanted this country, our country, grown up as expected. But we can't just ignore the disaster. So let us see. I can see the SME campaigner and the chairperson also seated here, economist seated here. Fine, let's see. But in the introductory report, I heard somebody saying that government is open for ideas. We don't see that. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it indeed. Mr. Dilith, what do you think 2026 is going to bring?
Mahieash Johnney, in my view, as we all know, that it is our hope that our beloved nation will move forward, and all what we are trying to do together is to push this nation forward. And in that light, we are very positive, but as much as being positive, it has been our view that lack of a cohesive strategy as a nation, we will not move forward. This is a complex socio-economic situation, and it is becoming more complex by the day. However, for us to move forward as a nation, as you have presented data in your that short video, these are the data that we keep analyzing, our economists are analyzing, sometimes our politicians are giving various interpretations to these data, but if you really go into all that, including the data and including what we discuss, we lack a cohesive national strategy, and in the absence of a national strategy, we are not moving forward. But I hope at least 2026, government will come up with something solid, something believable, something marketable, something motivating for Sri Lanka to be motivated and move forward.
Mr. Welgama, from the business sector itself, a lot of things that you all, one of the key things that you all expect is stability, and you all kind of got that in 2025. So what exactly is the hope for 2026?
Well, actually, it was cyclone struck Sri Lanka.
Can you bring your mic?
Some 6 weeks ago. So we now know from the estimates of the ADB and the World Bank that this has affected us to about 5% of our GDP, which means about 4 to 5 billion. Then on the other side, ILO reckons that it's about 16%. So this is vastly nebulous. So we need to establish where we are really, because you're talking about domestic residential dwellings, the non-residential dwellings, then you have the infrastructure, then you have the agriculture and fisheries. So we really need to take stock of where we are and not to mere conjecture. So I think that's the first thing, and then try to restore the lives of these people. I think that's paramount.
Shiran, what exactly do you think 2026 is going to be? Because you're giving a different viewpoint than what Dananath would be presenting in terms of economic thinking. So what exactly do you see for 2026?
Well, first off, I think I'd like to situate it in the global economic situation. I think globally, we've been in a period of muted growth since at least the 2008 financial crisis. We really didn't come out of the doldrums of that crisis by the time COVID-19 hit. So in that scenario, I think in a cyclical sense, it's unreasonable to think that Sri Lanka can gain a sustainable growth path in the next couple of years. The opportunity that exists right now is to restructure the economy and to prepare it for the next cyclical upturn. Now, as was said earlier, we need to be clear and reasonable about what has happened in the past couple of years. So the growth and stability we saw in 2025, really that comes off of the back of 2%, 7% decline in economic activity in 2022 and 2023. Again, with Cyclone Ditwa, we have, by some estimates, 4% of GDP loss in terms of damage on infrastructure, right? So when you account for all of that, you might actually see growth this year just by virtue of reconstruction. But that doesn't amount to new fixed capital, right? And that is the challenge, because we are in a period of global churning There's a financial element to it, a geopolitical element to it, and a technological element to it. And we need to restructure internally to be prepared for what comes next.
Indeed. So let's get down into the conversation. I want to talk a lot about the economy, obviously, and also focus a bit on investment opportunities. The minister said that FDIs are starting to come in into the country. So I want to emphasize on that, because this egg we've been trying to crack since the port city came in, and we are still trying to figure it out in a sustainable manner, where Sri Lanka is becoming like a business hub globally. Cost of living is what I want to start off with, and I want us to go to Mr. Dilith, because cost of living right now, we're talking about the inflation in December has risen a little bit than November, food inflation. So what we see is it's going back into our own people on the ground. You have a cyclone situation where it has created so much of devastation. People don't really have ways and means of coming out of it, and they're really thinking and looking towards the government. And the government has said certain number of activities that they're trying to support. Now, how is that, and in the overall concept of making sure that the economy becomes very stable and healthy, the cost of living part from 2022 onwards, we've been talking about, Mr. Dilith, and we have not been able to bring it down to a standard where people really can afford and get on with their lives without actually being a burden to the government or the state. Right now, what exactly the plans that the government has presented, do you see a proper way of getting out of it?
See, there are two types of cost of living we are talking about. For Dananath and rest of the economists, there is like on their desk, there are numbers that they will crunch, and for the government, they will also would like to see from sort of the numbers perspective. But as politicians, the best example is that when I got into politics and when I was first contesting as a for the presidential election, when I was going across the country and I was visiting households, and especially the best indicator, actually for me, I think it is the real cost of the real practical way of looking at this cost of living issue is when you visit their private washrooms, the kind of things they had in those washrooms. I'm talking about suburban middle class families, sometimes rural villages. And then I started doing the same rounds for the general election. Then I repeated that with the provincial elections. You could see where they have cut down on their the consumables. You can see that. I mean, from those households where they have proper cleaning liquids, branded cleaning liquids, and from bloody soap to hand wash to all that. See, what I try to say is this, my friends here also, we got to be truthful to ourselves. We can crunch numbers, and it's not a difficult task. And there are formulae, and we use, and that is true. That is a different side to the real situation. I can tell you, the real situation on ground, people are cutting down on their consumption because they just don't have the wherewithal or the means. And that is clearly evident when the government says through their tight fiscal management, if they have collected 1 trillion rupees, where have they collected it from? They have collected it from the possible consumers. Otherwise, they would have consumed that. I'm just telling this as an example. And forgetting all that, Mahieash, have we helped them to increase their wealth? Have we helped them to increase their income? So if we have not helped them to increase their income, if we have on top of that taken lots of taxes, and it is only safe to assume that they would have cut down on their consumption and the cost of living would have gone up. So it may be not that apparent or visible, maybe they are still eating, but it doesn't necessarily mean their quality of life is been maintained the same way.
I'll ask Mrs. Chathuranga to respond to that. What exactly, the cost of living is one of the criteria.
Yeah.
Proceed.
So I think the question is cost of living, and the answer was standard of living. So there are two different things. So
but I'll get contributes to each other.
The standard of living has been deteriorating in this country for many years. The fundamentals are not being able to collect taxes, government mismanagement of funds, corruption all over, and as Mr. Dilith said, there has not been a cohesive economic transformation strategy. So these are the 4 items. So with that 4, you wouldn't see a significant shift in that in a year. So you would see through the reforms how it will change. So in terms of taxes being burdened to people, it is a result of non-collection of proper taxes since 1990. So in 1990, we collected 19% of the GDP as taxes, and we brought it down to 8.5 by Gotabaya Rajapaksa regime. So we are rebuilding. So as soon as we get the tax net widened, where 1.3 million people who don't pay tax will get into the tax net, the consumption taxes of 18% VAT will keep coming down. That is a strategy. And I think apart from that, as Mr. Dilith said, the real need is growth. So when you grow, when there's more demand for labor, the salaries will keep moving up. Now we see on the one side, there is no way that we would see a significant reduction in prices, because in generally the economy itself required about a 5% inflation to be healthy. We had 2%. Now the target for next year is close to 5%. That's why our real GDP has come down. So the country is projecting 8%, 8.5% nominal growth, and that is, economists will say, that is a reasonable growth for any country. We would love to have it at 10%, but the GDP deflator is at 5%. That's why it has predicted at the 3.1%. So currently the whole game plan here is to drive the economy fast. So in various sectors, when there is more economic opportunity, where the income of people will keep rising. I think that is one side of it. And until that such thing is, such possibility is there, government is spending a hell lot on the subsidies, right? So even if you take the Aswasuma thing, the school benefit program, and also the subsidies that's given for certain food items. So these are the things that we can do in the interim. So the expectation of having a better living standard is a far stretch for what we have made ourselves for the last 20-30 years. So what we need to see is the numbers. So if the
but that's the problem, Minister, because everybody here is talking about numbers. That is so irrelevant when it comes to the common man.
So how do you measure?
No, I mean, the measuring is good. So but what I'm saying is the actionable actions that the government can take in order to make sure that the person who's out there, let's talk about the low income earners. For them, if they're earning 1,500 rupees per day, and they have their cost of living per day is, let's say, for lunch or whatever, the meals and everything, it's coming down to 1,000 rupees and maybe beyond if it is in Colombo, and they don't have ways and means of thinking about tomorrow. That is a problem, that category is huge in Sri Lanka right now. It is the indicators what you are right now saying is basically happening in the business sector. Yes, good, the path is good, we agree 100%, but what I'm asking is, what is the government's plan in order to bring the cost of living down? Because this was one of the key promises you all made during the campaigns. So what I'm asking is, like, standard of living is very important, yes. Cost of living is much more important, because that is where every single, I think, more than 7-8 million people are impacted on that. So what exactly
what I say is not this standard living, cost of living are both interconnected. You can just ignore the fact. You can ignore the fact, Mr. Minister.
I think I'm not ignoring the fact. What I'm trying to say is, let's debate over there. What are the actions we can take?
No, but what has the government done?
Number one, yes. So we are improving production. So improving production is the only means of bringing a larger supply. We are improving competition. We are making SMEs stronger, so there will be more competition on the ground. we are making fair trade tariff policies going forward, so the indirect taxes can be lower. We are trying to bring down the VAT down as the income stabilizes. Until that, we are providing subsidies, right? So without, other than those two, if there's any suggestion in this forum, I would love to hear.
Let me come to you, Madam, because SMEs are one of the key area groups that is basically impacted by this, and you all are very much banking on the government making sure that they, bring the economy to a standard. So what exactly is
I totally disagree with the Minister when it comes to the policy making, to say that there are policies that have been made to protect the SMEs. So far, nothing, absolutely nothing. Numbers are the facts to be spoken. When I say nothing, today SME organizations are the highest affected, because the increasing of the dollar is the most important factor it becomes. How can we ever be competitive in the world market when we don't have the ability of sustainability of any raw materials in this country? Everything has to be imported. So what we expect is a fair playing field. Now the tariffs that has been brought into the country, we signed different tariffs, NTDs, but any of these have never been in favor of the SME organization. Every given time, it has always been in favor of the signed country. Now take for instance with India. India is one of the biggest manufacturer of everything, next to China if you can say, and their prices are so low. Can we ever compete? Can our industries ever compete? Our salaries are not equivalent to our earnings. Our taxes are so high. Our SME organizations are the biggest tax-paying entities in this country. But in result, we don't get nothing. So if you were to take the dollar was at 292 in November 2024. Today the dollar is at 312. So what we expected the dollar to come down. So sustainability of the dollar is the most key factor for SME organization. If you were to take the relevant things what are happening now, Sri Lanka has absolutely become a dumping ground. Why I say that? Can we ever export anything into any country without certification? Can we? No, we cannot. That is the most important thing. Even a SME organization needs certification to export into another country. But bringing into this country, do they ask for any certification? No. I am aware of imports are needed, but let it be a fair playing ground. India being one of the biggest manufacturers, will they ever allow anything without certification to go into that country? No, it can't. I'm a manufacturer. We are only allowed 8 million pieces of garments to go into India, where India has the ability of bringing in any amount into this country. Whenever I have spoken directly with the embassy. What the embassy says is we are not allowed to do so because India is a manufacturing ground. So why are not we protected? Why are they safe? Because government needs to understand only way forward is by protecting the SME organization, and what we need is policies. We don't need hands out. We are not ever asking for hands out. We don't want anything to be given. Why are we fighting? When we talk about the paratha, we are not asking our loans to be cut out. What we are asking is to evaluate. Because banks cannot be the most business entity that makes the most number of profit. They are the biggest profit makers in this country. Banks are service oriented everywhere in the world. Why Sri Lanka? You take any company, banks are the biggest profit making company in this country.
I want to go to parliamentarian Mano Ganeshan. You represent one of the vulnerable communities in this country, the estate workers, and for them, I'm pretty sure that there are lots of issues that you would like to highlight. How do you see the government's approach in terms of the economic outfront and what you see on the ground?
Yeah, before coming into that, I should say that I very much agree with Taniya. I called the campaigner and the chairperson of the SME sector in Sri Lanka. It's very good because we have so many avenues. As I spoke in my introductory opinion, I said FDI, export, tourism, remittances, obviously, fine. Remittances are all we keep aside. Then out of the other three, we need FDI. FDI. That is important. I would like to listen to the minister, the state of affairs regarding that sector. And then talking about the plantation community, because plantation community is not just an entity of machines and factories, it's human too. Unless and until you take note of the sufferings and marginalization, vulnerability of the plantation community, the industry would not grow. I've been talking during the opposition period when comrade, a brother, a friend, AKD was with us, seated next to us. We had spoken very well about it. And
but this government actually increased salaries
salary factor is small. It's small because you don't imagine that there are 1 million workers are there in the plantation sector. It's not so. There are only 150,000 workers there. Okay, most of the others are residents of the plantations, are doing odd jobs in the plantation as well as outside also. But what I want to bring to you notice is, let us reform the plantation industry. That will help the people as well as the economy of the country. Reform should come as in a cooperative manner. You see, right now, the lands, the soil are owned by the government officially, legally. But it's a long list with companies. Companies are not the owners. So right now the behavior of the companies are like, the plantation community were been living there for last 200 years. First 125 years under the white Raj, now it is brown Raj. So let us make the workers as partners in the industry. We have the policy plans. As the member party of the SJP Alliance, we had agreed with our major party. So we will be able to discuss with the government party also. As Minister said, that if you have proposals, we will give the proposals. While being in the opposition, we will give the proposals. Let us see. So unless and until you make major changes and bring the industrial system into a cooperative system, where workers should be recognized as a partner in the industry. Now there is outgrow system, but outgrow system is decided by the estate managements. They pick up some families, some workers, and hand over them some piece of land and tell them grow and buy it from them. It should be like that. It should be a tripartite agreement. Government should enter. Government should sign agreements. Mr. Minister, listen to me. You wanted the proposals, no? Sign the agreements between the agreement should be signed between the worker, government, as well as the company. And tripartite agreement. So estate management cannot forcefully oppress these people.
I want to come to Derana. Derana, you might be listening to this conversation with regard to the, I think I raised this last time also with you. Mismatch between policy, ground situation. Mismatch because the indicators are saying everything is good. Then on the ground, things are not good. You go and ask everyday Sri Lankan and they will say, sorry, what are you talking about? We have no clue. Economy is doing well according to your indicators, that's fine. What are we missing? What is this missing indicator?
I'll try to put some context on two fronts. One is the cost of living will not come down, and I'm going to be very unpopular by saying this, because once the inflation hit 70% or whatever that number, cost of living is not coming down. The best example is, Mahieash, if you recall, earlier 1 kilogram of rice was 100 rupees, and if it's going above 100 rupees, it's a political nightmare. I mean, people go to town with it. But now it's about 220 rupees. It's not coming down, and it will further go up. What you can do is you can slow down the increase, number one. Number two, I would like to weigh in on Dilith's comment on the cost of construction, which is very true. So as with Minister Chathuranga, what he said on the standard of living. Because if you look at the concept of a toilet, is actually a good indicator of cost of living as well as on the living standard. If you recall 50 years ago, most of our toilets were about 20-30 meters away. I'm speaking about a common man, away from the home. And you have to take water in a bucket because there was no tap water, right? And then actually it was a pit, there was no squatting pan. And then things improved. There was tap water, then there was a squatting pan, and then the toilet slowly came closer to your house. In fact, it closer to a level that it's now next to your bedroom. And coming from like many who are in the leisure industry, actually now when you're going to a hotel, you're checking how cleanliness is your washroom rather than the cleanliness of your probably the living room. But if you really look at what has happened to the cost, I have the statistics luckily. If you look at wall tiles and floor tiles, there's a tariff rate of 79%. If you look at steel, which has about 33%. And if you look at sanitary ware, which has about 46%. So that means actually what Dilith said is right, because actually when you go to the ground level, people really cannot afford a squatting pan, a commode or steel. And look at the context that how it is unfolding in a post-cyclone context. Because if you look at the statistics, the major damage, about 1.7 billion, is on infrastructure. That means to rebuild, you need steel, you need cement, you need sanitary ware, you need tiles. And then the other 20% is on residential and non-residential, including Taniya's. She mentioned on the way to the studio the unfortunate incident that she had to go on through because of the damage of the floods. Now she has to rebuild all based on infrastructure. That requires electrical wires, switches and everything. All that has very high tariff rates. So obviously your cost of living is going to go up on one side. On an economic point of view, at the same time, I mean, while it is unpopular, once the inflation hits, it doesn't come down. I mean, inflation comes down, but the cost may not come down. And that's why Dilith is saying, while he is right, that actually when you go to the ground level, people are not, I mean, it's expensive. At the same time, what Minister Chathuranga said also right. It's the, I mean, it's in the standard of living, it's there. But what you need to see is the reasons behind it. And it is mainly the tariff, and that also comes with the cost of corruption. Because when you have 70% tariff, it is a massive, there's massive room for corruption on the other side.
I want to come to Shiran for this as well. That assessment plus, it looks like what Dananath said is just like we are heading towards a precipice and we are just going to die, because if the inflation is going to keep going up and there are no ways of bringing it down or trying to make the cost of living a little bit much easier to the common man, it doesn't, I mean, why are we doing this at all then? What exactly do you think that we can, what kind of solutions that are there that the government can actually pitch into in a novel way? Because right now, you also brought in a very good point where you said globally, if we look at, yesterday a war broke out in Venezuela, one of the biggest oil nations in the world. So there is, the United States might be taking over that as well, which means that particular stock, we don't know how it's going to go, but then there could be an indicator that oil prices might go up. Usually it happens when there is a conflict. Russian oil is not something that we are privy to because of the US embargo. So in situations like that, we're just sitting ducks in Sri Lanka, because the key things for us to keep processing our day-to-day life is not in our control. So in that, what kind of solutions do you think we can bring into the table and really look into, which has not been discussed thus far?
It's a great question, Mahieash, and a very hard one to answer in a short period of time. But I think, as Dananath said, what everyone said is kind of linked, because when you look at cost of living, that's directly linked also to cost of production, which helps the businesses. And then we were talking, Chathuranga was talking about subsidies. Actually Sri Lanka spends very little on subsidies, which is kind of counterintuitive because we think we're a great welfare state. As a percentage of GDP, we spend much lower than most countries in Europe, right? Guess what our biggest expenditure line is? Interest payments, yeah? That's the elephant in the room here, because fundamentally when we have a national discourse on economic policy, everyone is talking about what share of the fiscal expenditure we can get. Well, who's getting the biggest share? Right? The people we owe interest to. That is a structural feature of the economy, not just the Sri Lankan economy. 3.4 billion people in the world live in countries that spend more on interest than they do on healthcare and education. This is data from UNCTAD, right? This is a structural feature of the economy, the global economy. And if you look at borrowing rates, across the board, the US has the cheapest rates, then the European Union. Asia, Latin America, Africa, forget about it. It's 3, 4, 5 times higher. So we're kind of trapped in this debt cycle. This is a global issue that doesn't have a very easy solution at a domestic level, right? I don't expect the government to sort of walk in there like a gunslinger and challenge the bondholders. But that said, there is work that can and could have been done. This is a long process of, in the terms of foreign policy and multilateralism, to actually build those coalitions, those debtors coalitions, to start, talking about these issues and how we can move forward. Because clearly, with the numbers I just said, this cannot stand, not just for Sri Lanka. There's going to be a breaking point across the global south with this debt issue. Now, the reason I talk about that is because it's also linked to the cost of living issue and to the inflation, right? You have a trade deficit, you have an outflow of foreign currency. So a structural feature of every developing economy that doesn't have a trade surplus is that your currency is always devaluing. Inflation is a permanent state of affairs. That's something you cannot change, right? So naturally, your cost of living goes up. Your cost of production goes up. That affects your competitiveness. That affects the productivity of labor. That affects your wages, affects your standard of living, right? So that's just my way of trying to bring everything together. What can the government do? Well, there's a long-term game. The long-term game is really about coalition building on the international level, South-South cooperation. The short term is one industrial policy, which I'm very happy Minister Chathuranga is one of the few politicians who has constantly been talking about industrial policy, but I think more can and should be done, right? You mentioned the price of oil. One way to move out of the exposure to that is to move to new technologies, renewable energies. In my opening statement, I talked about the changing technological paradigms, right? The US is still stuck in the old technological paradigm. That's all they know, and they seem to have made the decision that they want to control that sphere. The alternative to that, right, where the center of gravity of the global economy and technological change is now in the East, in China. So the question is, how fast can we move to get away from our exposure to those kinds of shocks, right? And how can we build international coalitions to make sure, we don't suffer Venezuela type fate? These are very, very serious questions that the government needs to be looking at.
Indeed. Mr. Welgama, what exactly is your opinion on this? The cost of living and exactly how, what the government is doing and what the ground situation, the mismatch of it, and what kind of solutions can we bring to the table?
Actually, there's no point in talking about piecemeal measures.
Can you have...
There's no point talking about piecemeal measures. We have to look at the holistic picture. So if you take the IMF program, for example. So if you take Sri Lanka from 2020 to 2025, so in 2020, our NIIP, it's the National International Investment Policy, was around $47 billion. Right now it is $53 billion. So it's depreciated. Then if you take the government, the domestic debt from 2020 to 2025, it has ballooned from 9 trillion to 18 trillion. So if you look at our reserves are hovering around the 6 billion mark. So I think then in 2028, we have certain repayments to make. So I think we have to look at this situation first. Are we doing the right thing? I'm not saying that the IMF is not the answer. I'm not saying that at all. But we have to revisit, negotiate, and do what is right for Sri Lanka. Now, for example, the IMF says that the electricity bill should increase again by 5%. Now, this is absolutely diabolical in my view. Because the energy cost is going to be so high. And we are talking about electric vehicles and the rest of it. So these are the measures. It's no point talking about a situation of some volatiles being so high in price and rice being at this price. That's not going to help. You have to have a proper national policy. Look at the macro side. Look at your balance sheet. I think all of us can read a balance sheet, right? Assets, liabilities, and the net assets. So that's the basic thing. Look at the external balance sheet. Look at the internal domestic balance sheet and take stock of where we are. Then we have a lot of experts here in Sri Lanka. Right? We have economists, we have all sorts of people, and the world over, who are Sri Lankan. So make use of them. Have a proper policy going forward. Just don't shoot in the dark. That's my point.
Minister Weeraratne, before we go to a break, I would like to come to you and ask you, you heard various viewpoints coming from the opposition as well. Sorry, you say the economy is doing better, but yet it's not being reflected in households the way that they want it to be. But the government is saying that we are working towards this good. What exactly is your response to that? Because we heard from both economic think tanks as well and from the SME sector, from the business sector. What exactly is your viewpoint on right now in terms of the economic trajectory and the economic path that this government is taking?
Yeah, I think the whole discussion was based around the cost of living. So with the positive inflation, like cost of living is continuing to go up. We can't avoid that. And at the same time, like let's say if we have a negative cost of living, of course the consumer will get benefited. But at the same time, the producer will get impacted because the income that they are getting is going down low. And now that debate is going on, and we cannot take these things in isolation. Like we have to take the whole of the country's economy in one look, Hawkeye view, and then look at the policies and the strategies to implement to come out of this situation of the financial crisis as well as the getting into the development path. And for that, the government has taken the right steps. We are talking about the production economy to support certain industries as well as the agriculture and all the other sectors with the right technology implementations as well as the investments, and getting the private sector activated to do more production. And at the same time, we are going for the innovation, the new product economy, so that the products will bring the right revenues and the foreign income coming to the country. And at the same time, we are also working on the right policies to be brought in for the foreign investors to come and establish their operations as well as the investments in Sri Lanka. And we are getting the right policies to attract the investors who are like venture capitalists as well as the investment companies to come and establish in Sri Lanka, because something that is not currently available. So that will induce and fuel the whole economy as well as the companies to thrive with all the new capital that's coming to the country. And that's the way to grow. Like we cannot take small pieces in isolation and say like cost of living is maybe stable or getting increased slightly.
Did you say that new investments are not coming into the country? Did you say that?
No, I'm saying the right policies are bringing in so that more and more investors will come in.
Will come in.
Will come in. I mean, the currently also like there are so many the investments projects.
Yeah.
No, there are so many the projects are in various sectors like energy, even the digital economy like data centers. So many projects have already started where the foreign investors are positively looking to come and establish their operations in Sri Lanka. And those
Eranga,
things, of course.
Eranga, you have been on this side, I mean that side of the entrepreneurs at some point, and you're very much exposed to the ground reality and the truth. as Nalin was saying, in fact, exacting what I was going to say. More than that, Eranga, I think on a positive day like today, when we are starting a new year, one resolution I think what we should have, or some consensus that we should move away from this age-old political bullshit trajectory and the narrative. We have to be truthful to ourselves, because we are one nation. If at all, if we are going to sink, we will be sinking together. So if we are coming out, we will come out as one nation. So as you have been saying that 76 years or whatever that, whether we agree or not, going by what our great economist Dananath says, the toilet itself is a good example. 76 years have not done that badly. From that pothole to it has come to a what do you call attached bathroom. However, that now politicians, for some reason, wherever they come from, like my good friend Eranga Weeraratne come from a very elite background in terms of entrepreneurship. You are now, it looks like that you are also forced to say some things, like a traditional politician which is against your belief and against your heart.
I want to interrupt
No,
you,
just I'll tell you that. Now we all know we are in deep trouble. We are in deep trouble. FDIs are not coming. There's no reason for FDIs to come. We have not given them a reason, and we all know. And we can, once we agree, I mean, I don't think people are not that bad. People would understand. Now people, I can see that they have, now the Chathuranga, people have forgiven you for the worst of the worst disaster that you have been part of. I mean, we appreciate that. I mean, if you take the 76-year history of Sri Lanka, your party, your ideological background has contributed, but people have forgotten about it, because people have given you a chance, and people will give more chances only if we go and tell them, look here, this is the truth. Like what Taniya says, the entrepreneurs are in deep trouble, Eranga. I don't want to sort of go on that negative territory, because I mean, I work with entrepreneurs, I meet entrepreneurs, we have been talking about entrepreneurs. So if there hadn't been a serious fundamental shift in terms of strategy.
Can you tell 3 changes that we should do on what we are not doing? 3.
I'll start from the first one, where you said, when before you came to power, where you will empower, you will help the entrepreneurs who got affected for no reasons or no responsibility of theirs during COVID, and prior to that is Easter bombing attack. Have you helped them in any way?
Yes.
Have you helped them in any way?
In our capacity,
and have you helped people who took these moratoriums from the banks?
I can explain if I'm giving.
So have you helped them? If so, whether Taniya agrees, and the 300,000 entrepreneurs who are on the streets
false
today.
Number.
Huh?
No.
Okay, let's say a false number. Otherwise, now what I'm trying to say, that is not what I'm trying to say, Eranga.
So that is one. Okay, so we should have supported more on this thing.
No, policy making should have
the second thing.
So that's what I'm asking.
Second most important, actually it's not the second, it's the first thing.
Okay.
Is now, as you came to power, it was a belief of the micro and small time entrepreneurs that they would get a great ground, because you come from a very socialist background, your political ideology, that you would help them like crazy, and they will get zero interest loans, or zero interest what do you call, without collateral, that they will get support, they'll get capital.
What we get without collateral, we can't even think about having it in, because it's about 3 to 5 million. What can you do?
I mean on ground, I'm asking you.
That's what I'm asking.
So
you said 2 things now on debt. So both are on debt.
Do you see?
No, not only that. that policy
Do
making.
you see?
No, I'm asking you the third one.
Do you, no, I mean,
so I can answer. Yes.
Yeah, the third possible question in terms of getting this whole thing together. Do you see any renewed energy among the people of Sri Lanka, like a complete motivation?
These are three opinions.
No,
you need to
I'm just asking.
policies.
I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Are we not in agreement that this Sri Lanka needs some consensus among the politicians, entrepreneurs, opposition, the government? We have gone through this shit for too long, and we have to agree on something, like my friend Nalin is saying,
so to
as
agree,
I've been saying, one cohesive strategy. If you have a strategy, Nalin should know.
Nobody's telling the strategy, no?
I'm asking you.
Yeah.
Don't you agree, Eranga, that we have to have a piece of paper to say, look, go to the people and say.
So there's a book all written in pages.
Well, last year also I met my friend.
1,335 initiatives are there.
Chathuranga, we are on a positive platform. I am not criticizing you. I am not saying that
I'm also asking
Dilith.
Now you are saying nothing is happening. No strategy, no cohesive plan. I'm asking you I ask you three things which we could do better than what we are doing. So you said one about COVID time loans. Then you said
not COVID time loans. I am saying there had been a historical development or a growth of these macro, micro, small time entrepreneurs. They got affected badly during COVID and Easter bombing. So then
how do you support them?
We people expected some big support from you for them to resurrect, get up and run. It did not happen on ground. I can tell you with response.
I can explain that.
You can explain, but as I was saying, explanation is one, ground reality is another.
Now,
like Dananath, if he is given the mic, he will explain very nicely macro, micro, economic conditions and all that. But
Dilith,
let's go on ground.
At the beginning, you said we need a cohesive strategy. Now, when I ask you what should change from today onwards, you are talking about 2019.
No, you did not talk about the strategy. No, if you ask me about the strategy, I'll tell you what the strategy should be in my point of view. I am not talking about a strategic change or the shift. That is a discussion by itself, and it's a massive discussion. But since you asked me simple three things, tell me. I said simple three things I told you. And first of all, now though we were laughing at the previous governments, like at some point we saw Vaga Sangramya to this Sangramya, that Sangramya. What does that mean? Then you try to motivate people and get them on one platform to talk about one slogan, and where you see people engage in a fight. I mean, it's a national fight. Here you talk, you also talk. I'm not saying only you, like the other politicians who have done in the past. You talk. And you don't.
Are you aware of the reforms that's happening?
I am very much aware of it, and I mean, I hear, I am aware, but I don't see it.
So
now say FDIs, you are talking about FDI. I mean, it's a simple thing. No, you are an entrepreneur. You are also coming from a private sector background. You tell me one reason why an entrepreneur or an investor should come to Sri Lanka. What changes have we made in terms of encouraging them to Sri Lanka?
I'll tell you 5 now. I'll tell you 5. Offhand.
No, don't tell 5. Tell me 1.
So number 1 is Sri Lanka doesn't have a land policy. So without a land policy, allocating land for investments will never come, because investor has to go behind all these institutions 2.5 years it takes. That is number 1. Second, we don't have trade agreements between relevant countries. Without that, FDIs will not come. Third one, the FDIs also need a kind of a protection and an investment policy that is clear, which we never had, which this government has brought in, and which will be tabled in this before March, the Investment Protection Act and the Investment Promotion Act. Then thirdly, the foreign direct investments also need a particular labor reforms that needs a certain level of flexibility in labor. Fourthly, the foreign direct investments also need a cohesive national strategy to see what is the long-term plan in IT, what is the long-term plan in agriculture, what is the long-term plan in construction, we don't have that. So this is what we are building now.
So
these
well
5,
and good,
without
well and
these
good,
5,
well and good. But I'll tell you, for an investor to go to a country, what we need is something called the competitive advantage.
Yes.
In global economics or global business practices, a competitive advantage. So you need to create that competitive advantage for someone to come to Sri Lanka without going to any other country.
Yeah.
So if you are to create that, it has to be a very, very strong competitive advantage.
Yeah.
We should tell them, look, by coming to Sri Lanka, you not just get X, Y, and Z, you get more than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Among that.
And
so three things on that. On competitiveness, one more thing. Just competitiveness index, we are at the lowest. Ease of doing business, we are at the lowest. Not a result of NPP government. And then if you have to give them another access in terms of energy cost, we have to work very hard on the renewable energy and bring the energy cost low. So these are the three key things which Sri Lanka will become competitive. Right?
So I want to talk a little bit more on that. In the next segment, I want to talk.
I'll tell you just one more before you go into a break.
What is it?
I think, so this is in the practical world, I'm telling you, first you must make a proper announcement to the world, because even if you ChatGPT today or Gemini or whatever, this is the world still sees you as a extreme socialist government.
I think
and
you are thinking.
No, not I am thinking, because you have told, and I
so
still
we are
believe.
A communist-based party.
I believe that it is
and
so.
Vietnam
you
is
must,
so. China
you must
is
say perception.
So.
Perception
India
is
so.
In the world, commercial world, perception is reality.
No,
so you
Vietnam
must say.
investments.
You must say
Single
that.
party.
You must say that you are an extreme
This
capitalist, neoliberal party.
We are
and
when
you make that statement, it's very positive.
No, that is not required.
You are not.
That is not at all required.
Are you or not?
People are not going to neoliberal.
Gentlemen, let's take a short break.
I think we should shift gears.
No, I'll come back to you, Mr. Welgama, right after this break. If y'all, just to give you a time check, we've been talking for more than 1.5 hours now. So just let's take a break and give our viewers a little bit of a break. And when we come back, we'll have more.
No, what I mean is, like, we should more focus on policies.
I want to really focus on investments and the FDIs because that is going to be crucial for next year, for this year per se. But let's take a short break. You're watching our season's premiere of State of the Nation. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to our season's premiere of State of the Nation. I'm in conversation with Dananath Fernando, CEO of Advocata, Taniya, Abeysundara, the President of Ceylon, United Business Alliance, Deputy Minister Chathuranga, Abeysinge of Industries and Entrepreneurship Development, and also Eranga Weeraratne, Deputy Minister of Digital Economy, SJB Parliamentarian Mano, Ganeshan, who is the leader of the Tamil Progressive Alliance, and also Parliamentarian Dilith, Jayaweera, leader of the Sarvajana Balaya, and Mr. Nalin Welgama, who is the chairman of Ideal Group, and of course Shiran Illanperuma, political economist. We've been having a lively debate with regard to what basically the strategies and proposals are saying versus what's the ground reality. I want to talk about investments, foreign direct investment. This code we have not been able to crack properly. Every single time when I bring this question to any of you who have been on my show, we all say lots of excuses. But what I really want to know, let me start with you, Dananath. Why do you think Sri Lanka's inability to, because we know what the problems are, we know where the issues are, we know exactly what needs to be done, but here still we are not doing it. Initially it was about area where we had to dedicate it and give it to them, and then we had port city. Then we can't even get it to function to a place where people can, businesses can come in. Why is Sri Lanka not being looked at as a country there where it is investor friendly?
This is connected to the cohesive strategy and not the piecemeal strategy that Mr. Welgama and Dilith was speaking about. Specifically, there's a land issue, massive land issue. 95% of our all industrial zones were occupied, and we have to declare more industrial zones. And in my view, the government really do not have the capacity. When I say the government, not like, I mean, the state apparatus is not capable enough to run industrial zones because these are very specialized skills. So we have to have private industrial zones. I think we have Tulhiri at the moment, but we have to have entrepreneurs like probably Eranga and Dilith who can run the investment zones. That's number one. Number two, the second pillar has to be on the labor front, which Minister Chathuranga also mentioned, because if you look at labor has been in massive shortage as numbers as well as skills. For an example, if a hotelier comes and do a separate marble design, there are not proper marble layers in Sri Lanka. So you have to allow that skill set to come in. Number two. Number three, there's also capital restrictions. For an example, when an investor comes, there are many Sri Lankans who have invested even in overseas because investors are on maximizing wealth. They have to invest in multiple countries, in multiple markets. They have to move capital, same as Sri Lankans who have invested in India, Vietnam, all over the world. So that restrictions has to be also, relaxed to an extent. Fourth one is on the utilities because of electricity prices is one of the highest, so as on other utilities. So that has to come from reforms. But what we have been doing, Mahieash, is we are like the New Year resolution. We all wanted to go to the gym, but we are only pumping on the biceps. We are skipping the stomach exercises. We are skipping the cardio. We are skipping the leg exercises. And every time we come and say, okay, we go to Dubai, we try to get an investor, convince someone, bring them in. But we are skipping, we are not considering an overall. That's the cohesive strategy.
It is cohesive. It is not cohesive.
Which is not cohesive. We have to think about the diet. We have to think about the leg exercises. You have to do the cardio. You have to run. You have to do overall package. But we are without doing the overall package. We are just going to the gym and weigh 5 kilograms or 10 kilograms again based on your body weight and all that. But that's what is missing. And also there are vested interests because the moment, let's be very clear, when you do those reforms, not everybody is going to be happy because when you declare the land rights, there will be opposition. When you relax labor laws, when you want, labor and skilled labor, there will be resistance. And everyone is looking at their fair share without thinking as a country. So as a result, we will always be going to the gym. We will always be the same, person, but the body shape will remain as it is. And you will ask the same question if you don't do the changes and cohesiveness, the same question will pop up again and again.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dananath Fernando representing the tile industry and the gym industries of Sri Lanka today in this forum.
No, he can afford to talk.
I keep hearing a lot.
Looks like that he is doing a full body exercise properly.
Mr. Welgama, pitch in on this subject of foreign direct investment because you are. Can you please take your mic?
Before we talk about foreign direct investment, we have to talk about the burning issues that we have. You see, now because of this Ditwa, there are 374,000 people who are out of work. 17% of our land mass is impacted. Right? 35% of the tea industry is in the doldrums. So all these things have to be, sorted out first. And we have to find answers to this, the burning internal issues. FDIs are good, definitely, but do we have the infrastructure to do it at the moment? I don't think we do, right? Because our cost of production is very high here in Sri Lanka, and our businesses are not well protected, like in India, for example. So we have to create that atmosphere first, prior to talking about FDIs. Now we have the port city. So why aren't we doing something about the port city? That's been there for a while. There's Chinese support. So why can't we look at inviting some of the multinationals to come and invest? Okay? I'm sure they must, everyone must be trying. But nothing has happened so far. So these are the things that we should look at on the FDI side. But more importantly, let's fix the issues that are burning issues here in Sri Lanka.
Absolutely.
You know?
Look at
Minister, you disagree?
Yeah, I think the number one is that the DITWA impact on the industries, we technically don't see a huge impact on the industries at this point. There are few organizations which has destroyed, and we've started a foster program also under the ministry. The large organizations will handhold about 100 odd factories that went down. On the agriculture side,
I'm not talking about the industries.
Yeah, so in the agriculture sector, it's
I'm only talking about the agricultural sector, which has been impacted 35%.
So agriculture sector,
has been impacted.
it's a seasonal thing, but when it comes to agriculture, value adding and livestock, there are many livestock organizations which gone underwater, but every other agricultural land will be it will be up and running within the next season. So we technically don't see a huge impact on the GDP or exports with this thing. That's the first thing. Second, I think on the FDIs and the port city, so we all know that the port city has been stagnated, and there was a window of prominence given to certain conditions, and that has been over. Now the port city has given a new standard of incentives, and at the moment we have 1.2 billion coming in this year, that is 2026, and then with that there are about 27 inquiries that has come through. So we would like to see these investors and entrepreneurs like you actively, if there's any idea that you can give to the commission. Commission is very open. We can meet the commission. If there's anybody who can say, you know, the way that you approach India is not the way we should approach, the way you approach Dubai is not the way we know better, this is how you should do it, I think please go and tell, because there are capable people appointed there, and none of them are politically appointed. And obviously citizens and the knowledge people like Mr. Dilith Jayaweera can help Port City to, you know, get investments, and I don't think anybody is going to deny. And even the Port City members will go with Mr. Dilith Jayaweera to all these countries if he really can bring investments. Because what we need to understand is the fundamentals. What Dananath said is the elephant in the room. And with 2/3 of majority, if we can't get these reforms done within these 5 years, we are doomed. That we all agree, right? The labor, the land, the tariff policy and the investment policy, those four are the fundamental issues of FDIs, and we are very much doing it, and it's very clear that we will do it within these 2 years. Some of the things in terms of the single window for investment, single window for trade, without those two nobody is willing to come here, right? These are significant changes. That's what I'm saying. Even in the Ministry of Industries, we took this year to plan out what these institutional changes that need to happen. And I think likewise the Ministry of Finance and Agriculture and all that, they are reforming. Education is reforming. And this economic transformation, you take any country, it has taken them 10 to 20 years. But we are expecting these changes to happen. I think government is pushing it. If there's more ideas, if there's more support that can be given, we are open.
Yeah, so I agree to disagree with Minister for the simple reason. Mainly, we talk about reforms that is coming. No country, we are always talking about the foreign investments. What about protecting the local investors already in the country? What about all the big investors? The piteous part is now the SMEs are being sucked in by the multinational companies, and they are invaded into the SME organization. What about protecting the locality? Why are you always trying to
recommendations, please?
What do you mean? What are the recommendations you want?
For local industry.
Oh, local.
Which is not happening.
Absolutely, nothing is happening. For the simple thing, you try getting some sort of approval done. You got to go from pillar to post up to date. I am trying to put up a factory, trying to be competitive in the trying to go into exports. For the last 6 months, I'm trying to get some, single approvals.
This is the single window.
So listen, so your single window was suggested by us before you all came into power even. Most of these policy reforms you all are wanting was suggested by, business organizations.
It's happening.
No, happening is another thing. And the other thing is the labor law. Labor law reforms were brought in, just about to sign. before the government change. But still it has been 2 years, more than a year, president into second year, government into his second year. These are still, you all are talking about, you all are projecting it and you all are going to change it. We worked on this for more than 3 years just before signing, because the labor law is the worst law in this country. You cannot sustain bringing in any investment, neither, forget about investment, even any local entity in this country even can't survive with the labor laws. What is happening? Because it is the worst labor law, because we still are going into years, what is never been changed, has into winter. Other thing is national policies on protecting industries. Now you all are talking about foreign FTAs. But what about protecting the local industries before you bring in those foreign FTAs?
You mean the standards?
Standards. So for us to be competitive in the market, main thing what we ask is policies that will protect industries. What are the policies that you all have promised? I mean, promises are being made, reforms are being done, but reforms were already spoken, done, written. What was only to you all needed to implement. Implementation is still being under discussion. Why is that? I mean, I'm just for example, during Corona time, people ran their businesses, but no government involvement was there. But the businesses ran because there were no political involvement in decision making. Government decision was made by government authorities. So when there is no politics involved, any decision is very easy. Same way, any country in the world, politicians are there to help decision making, not to they are not the governing body. You all are given 5 years of governing the country, any political party, but that does not give them the right of owning the country. You are there to make reforms because you all were asked to make reforms. You all were elected through, you all, first thing you all said was speaking with the IMF thoroughly, but you all are just still dancing to the IMF tune. IMF is not the monster. We are the people who make the mistake going into the IMF and listening them. I mean, they are there to give a ear. They will listen to us if we are giving them the correct advice. The central bank, for now to date says central bank is the biggest downfall of this country. Every decision that the governor has made has been the downfall of SME organization. Up to date I said, and that governor needs to go home for this country to be changed.
Shiran.
That's what JVP was telling earlier.
That was one of their promises.
Send Nandana home.
And today, he is the decision
just
maker in the
one
country.
One second. Shiran, I want to come to you because you had an...
Sure. Let me quickly chime in. First of all, the framing of the conversation, I think this whole idea that you deregulate and you'll get FDI is just a race to the bottom that doesn't quite work. If you look at any of the countries that have developed, say the East Asian model and so on, these countries had internal dynamism before the foreign capital came in. So you need to get your house in order. Now, we agree that reforms are needed. We disagree on what kind of reforms those need to be. There's a problem with access to land. That doesn't mean that you need to have land title and private property in land. You just said China and Vietnam, countries ruled by communist parties. There's no private property in land. Land is a public asset in those countries. In China, all rural land is owned by the collectives. Urban land is ruled by the state.
We follow the same policy.
We are a communist country at the moment.
So the land will be only 99-year lease, and the government there will be no freehold land given to FDIs.
That's great. But then that brings me to the next point though, is does the government have a clear idea of what FDI it wants and what FDI it might even not want? Because every previous government in Sri Lanka has always said, we want FDI, we want FDI. And when you ask them, what FDI do you want? They're like, anything, whatever you want, bring it. Anyway, people think China and Vietnam are open for investment. There are sectors of the economy that are completely closed to investment.
Absolutely.
Foreigners cannot invest.
Yes,
Totally.
And
then there are strategic sectors selected not because they are low-hanging fruit, selected because there's long-term productivity gains. Right?
I think this
that is what's not clear.
April.
Dilith, I want to get your take on this.
Clearly say, what is the investment policy of this country? That is the Strategic Investment Act. So that will clearly say these are the 5 sectors or 4 sectors we need investments for. And the land will be allocated for those.
Like Shahan mentioned, I totally agree with Shahan. what? You were talking about China, you were talking about India, you were talking about Vietnam.
South Korea.
I mean, this country has more restriction for foreign investments to come in than you can ever imagine. I closely work with all these 3 embassies. I mindly, very closely work, and they have given us the motivation
Taniya,
for us to...
lost our sovereignty. You need to understand.
No, it's nothing to lose our sovereignty.
Yeah,
sovereignty is lost,
So what
not
do we
by
do to
us.
regain the sovereignty?
No, the country is
She
not
mentioned the central
Taniya, now Taniya,
that is a serious issue.
I can understand Taniya's frustration for many reasons. Now, what I want to tell you, Chathuranga and my friend Eranga, because you represent the government for not any other reason, as our friend Nalin was saying, if we really want to move forward, first we have to be truthful and honest and study and accept the truth. We can talk anything, but if I am very scared to do that in public fora, but if you draw a proper analogy between running a corporation and running a government, actually there is no difference. It's
The fundamentals are
the same. And one can say there are other yes.
And it's the same with the household.
Yeah, it is the structurally, fundamentally, it's the same. Now here, to simplify this, for the purpose of viewers to understand, now this is Taniya. It is a company who has taken a loan.
Correct.
Company who has taken a loan. Our loan installment is not
Going to be due.
going to be due, and our incomes are not sufficient to sustain this interest service. I mean, servicing of the interest and then the capital. So now we are saddled with this. The solution lies in we have to negotiate in terms of how we are going to service the loan and the capital. On the other hand, how we are going to make more money and earn more money so that we are going to be sustainable. And if you are to simplify that, this whole thing revolves around this.
Yeah.
So basically, we have to be cash flow positive.
We have to be cash flow positive.
There's a great forecast for that. No, have you seen
no,
that?
I am not saying I am not arguing with you.
Yeah.
But we are saying we just don't go into this true fundamental of the issue and the practical aspect of it. As he was saying, as against a private corporation and a country, there are, let's say, multilateralism, geopolitics, all that is there. But in a running of a corporation also, it has similar variables, but not in terms of multilateralism or dealing with the countries. However, the point is, that is why a country requires a national strategy, wherein which you say, this is how we are going to build our balance sheet. Yeah. I mean, external balance sheet and an internal balance sheet. As he was saying, our international investment position, as at now, I think it has to be corrected, we are at 58 billion minus. So how are we going to move forward with a balance sheet of this nature? How are we going to increase our cash flows? Where are the avenues in which we are going to add value for capital formation for the country? Where will the money come from? Now I want to tell you, I don't want to burst the bubble and I don't want to argue with my friends, the Economist also. In practical, real terms, we are talking about a 3 billion revenue in tourism. I argue to date that this has minus contribution to the country in dollar terms.
Absolutely.
I believe I have a strong argument which I would like to discuss in another forum. It adds 0 or minus to in dollar terms to this country. We are very.
I wish you discuss that.
So will you drop
no,
from your portfolio then? Will you drop tourism from your portfolio?
Have to.
Yes, obviously.
Have to. I don't want to scare anyone. Whoever who is in this industry, hospitality industry, I can simply prove that they are eroding their capital. Very, very fast.
You are in the hospital?
Yeah, I am in the hospital. I mean, before I got into politics, I was actively involved in running these companies. I can tell you, if you take almost all the 5-star hotels run by corporations, and they are conglomerates. Yeah. They are conglomerates supported with other industries. So all the hotels, I can tell you, this is I'm telling you with responsibility. Show me one hotel who has made profits of that operation alone, unless it has got gifted from the grandfather. There are a few hotels, they have got they are inherited. But if someone has invested by way of taking a loan, if leveraged, you have not made money. Today, I can tell you, now this is a shocking information. I'll tell for you to now.
But the economy means different thing, no? So
wait. Let me tell you. Now today, all the Colombo 5-star hotels, what rate are they selling at? I don't want to mention. We have a heritage hotel, like a beautiful heritage hotel. I can get a room for you for $76 or less, right? I can get the brand new hotel built with over 1,000 rooms at $60 a room. What does this mean? Now you go to a room, you look at the linen, look at everything, all the bathroom accessories or whatever, that everything is imported in dollars. We have invested. Are you trying to tell me that we are not spending less than $60 for maintaining that room? Are you trying to tell me that? So I'm telling you, we have to revisit this. And this is a model of Sri Lankan tourism. We have to have a serious revisit. Otherwise, so we are eroding. Nobody's talking about it. That is why I'm sad. Nobody wants to talk the reality of it. And I can tell you, get the hoteliers here. We are happy to discuss this issue. There are two types of hoteliers. The people who really feel the pain are the ones who have invested. So others are also hoteliers who have been part of the
I think Colombo hotels are virtually run with the Colombo niche market. You go in there is no foreigners.
No, I am telling you.
It's always locals. You go down south, it is locals.
Eranga statistically, Eranga and Dananath, statistically, you say, I heard you saying, or in one of your programs in Advocata, they're saying $150 is a reasonable spend by a tourist. And you say that. And you seem to be tracking it through the formal remittances.
There is 2019 survey, no?
Now they have revised it.
178.
They have revised it. It was earlier at 175. Remember? Now I think they have brought it down to 145. Remember? 45.
So let's say 140, and if it is let's say an assumption, I want to take this. I want to take this example for the love of the nation. For the love of the nation, not to argue with the government. It is nothing. It's not their fault at all. But if we don't accept the truth, if we saying this is the lowest hanging fruit, we have to get more tourists. More tourists means more losses for this country. If every tourist who visit this country,
some of the tourists coming here are eating out of our asthma.
100%. So I mean they're eating.
They come and do businesses here.
They are consuming. They are consuming our subsidies. They are consuming our subsidies. The one who gets into the train.
So what do what do we do now?
I mean, what we have to do. What we have to do.
No, reality is clear.
I'll tell you what to do.
So that's
what
why
we have to do, Chathuranga. What we have to do is two things.
What?
First, accept this is the reality.
So there's a policy on that, accepting this.
Second is I've been talking about this for years, not when your government came into power. It's about destination branding, where, because we are a small island, we can't get the numbers. I was appreciating your argument on that program. If the $150 they are comparing with Thailand example. I don't want to sort of go into detail. The Thailand $150 local value addition is $100.
No, more than that.
Even more, because Sri Lanka, the problem, Eranga, is when a tourist comes, everything 90% of what they consumed are dollar-based cost.
Yes, there is no value added.
Now you go to a hotel, everything is imported. Everything is including flour, the buns, the cakes, the fruits, the meat, everything is imported. And not just that, Nalin, you look at the floor, you look at the ceiling, you look at the lights, you look at the bulbs, you look at linen, you look at the pillow.
So that's the economy that we built for 70 years, no?
I'm saying.
No, what we are asking is to change it.
So how do you want to change it like this?
I'll tell you. Yes, I.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
Chathuranga, we
there's an industrial policy.
Personally,
you need to look at the industrial policy.
What we are asking.
No. You need to. No, the thing is this. You guys are not reading the policies. You guys are not engaging with what the government is doing, and you are saying nothing is happening.
Now, Chathuranga, I'm not saying that. No, I am saying you have you are collecting a TDL. It's in billions.
Yeah.
That is in your coffers.
Yes.
So it take part of the money.
Yeah.
Hire some.
So you think tourist board is not doing this now?
No, they haven't done it. Today they haven't done it.
I've inquired into it. There is a problem with procurement process.
No,
they are planning
now,
that.
Now, my friend Chathuranga, why I say is fundamentally when you don't understand that is nothing wrong with you. I mean, you have to first accept. That is why I'm saying you have to accept.
Yeah.
I mean, be humble.
So
now, when
Dilith,
when you are humble, you have to, in this game, you have to be humble.
If the results are not coming, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Be humble and accept that we have gone.
Each minister has accountability.
We have gone wrong in terms of Sri Lankan national tourism strategy over the years.
Yes.
We need to refix that unless
agree,
we refix
100%
that.
agree.
So that is why when I
so
say
there's a board, there's a chairman, there's a minister.
Minister, can I ask this question from both of you?
Yeah.
That when we are talking about tourism, one of the things that the government has been doing for the past 4-5 months is talking about the numbers, saying that I think we surpassed. There was a press conference about a couple of weeks back, and where we said that we surpassed the numbers. Tourists are coming into the country, this and that. But nowhere have we heard what is the contribution of these tourists to the economy, because what Dilith is also making.
No, Mahieash, they talk about a figure. It's Dananath and them also keep mentioning.
This is 170.
No, what I'm asking from the government.
For subject to correction, now $140. Let's assume that we are getting $140. My submission and my argument is that it costs more than $140 to service its tourists.
Absolutely.
In dollar terms. In dollar terms.
No, otherwise, from the import to export, the deficiency is more than 7 to 8 billion always. So that is the reason.
I'll take 2 minutes of this, right? This whole problem was identified by NPP, and that is why we put a strategy that we should move to less number of tourists and reaching 8 billion through 3 million tourists. Why? Because the value has to go close to $270 is what we want to go. How do we go? That is, there are few things to do. One thing is the branding as a country, and then the destination branding. Through is product development. Now we have to create various products for tourism, health, sports, all that. So this is a strategy. So how does it get executed through the tourist board, and whether it's slow or not, I think I'm not the right person to answer, but that is a strategy. On the
but you can convey one message from us today.
Yeah, I agree. Now I think this is a good discussion. The other piece is what we are saying is how Sri Lankan tourism was built, from construction of a nut and bolt to every consumer item we import. Agree. Our net tourism benefit is low. Agree. So how do we do this? So now that is why we are talking with hoteliers and all that. How do you compensate? For example, milk. If we can Sri Lanka provide milk to this? Can we give the vegetables to it? Can we give even now there is a negative list, Dilith. I think we proposed from the Ministry of Industries to add 20 more items to the negative list. Dananath will not agree. Because negative list means the investors can't import those things like iron bars, wires, because we do it. But at the same time, these are costly to the investor. So we have to come to a compromise also. Now I am trying to do an investment in Sri Lanka. Now we have ACL cables and Kalani cables and all that. They are happy to provide all these things, including tiles. But the investor says, look, I can get it much cheaper. So how do you negotiate this? This is a negotiation.
Don't listen to Dananath all the time.
No, what I'm trying to say is, now when your when market is free, that's a different discussion. As you correctly said, no market is free. India is not allowing us to send goods.
Chaturanga, among few
so what I'm trying to say is, this is the thinking and the strategy we are doing. So
Chaturanga,
please do help us.
Among few things, one more message that I want you to carry to the government.
Yeah.
This is where I can show you one fundamental error where you are not accepting.
Okay.
See, now itself you are saying Sri Lanka has 3 ways of earning dollars: remittances, exports, and tourism. We say tourism. I agree.
Yeah.
That is a clear source of, dedicated source of earning dollars.
So
but my question is, now see, we don't have a dedicated minister. I just don't understand
we have a deputy minister.
You have a deputy minister.
Yeah.
Now countries.
Strategic.
See, this is.
Okay, so we'll take it as a feedback. Yes.
Eranga, sorry for me to say that. I just don't understand the brand fit or the strategic fit or any fit between Minister of Foreign Affairs and Minister of Tourism. Just because the tourists come from foreign countries, and the foreign minister and the tourism minister must be the same, or they could be the same. It is like
it's a
very
you can have your opinion. Just look at the results.
But there is a dedicated minister now.
So there's one point I want to add, one quick one.
No, there's the two
Dilith
deputy
brought up
ministers.
about the
One
dollar.
second.
There need to be a minister now.
Yeah.
Because you accept that tourism is very important.
No, I think
source of
the
income.
cabinet will manage its account.
Minister, I need to take a
what
break.
opinion? We are telling you the opinion.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Also, I can
What
even add
opinions
more.
we are
Chathuranga
giving
can be the
opinions?
minister.
So yeah,
Seems to be
we
that
can
you are
add more
understanding the
ministers
problem.
like last government.
Dilith, let's not put Chathuranga into trouble.
No,
let's take a short break.
But this is a strategic alignment, right? So under tourism, Minister of Tourism plus the foreign affairs, like those two things go hand in hand, like because we want our foreign missions to promote tourism and so on, a lot of activities to be done.
They have found this shift where
let me
one
say.
country.
Therefore, like the ministry is single, but there are two ministers looking after two different areas, deputy ministers.
So let's see whether
regarding the tourism, like of course it's a more strategical strategy we have to do to understand like what is the right kind of tourists that we have to attract. Of course, for that the tourism board is actively working on that, and at the same time, like building the MICE tourism in the city area and also to get the right tourists to country. How we can promote and how we can position Sri Lanka is what is more important. Because today if you ask somebody in maybe Australia or Europe from a rich and healthy, rich and wealthy people, like they don't know what is actually available in Sri Lanka for them to go and visit. Like there's no single portal for information, there's no single portal for ticketing and so on. Where we have established the foundation building of those platforms. For example, single ticketing platform, so that the tourists can pre-arrange their whole itinerary before they come to Sri Lanka. So that sort of building platforms are much needed for us to attract these tourists, as well as the MICE tourism to build. Now we see a lot of international events are being held in Sri Lanka. So that will develop the city tourism and also the attractions.
Indeed. I want to take a short break. When we return, I want to get the closing remarks from our panel. Here we've been talking about the economy and how to rebuild that. And the impacts of it. We talked a lot about cost of living, and in this segment we talked about foreign direct investment and also about tourism as well. Let's take a short commercial break. You're watching our season's premiere of State of the Nation. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to our season's premiere of State of the Nation. A lively discussion here with regard to our economy and how we can grow it and keep the growth as the momentum as we go into 2026? Well, we have come to the tail end of our live broadcast, and in order to get the closing remarks, I'll go to Shiran. What is the gist of this? I know we talked a lot about in terms of what they agree, what they disagree, and what the government is doing, what the opposition is saying, and you also heard from the business sector as well. Shiran, what is the core thing that we have to be focusing on with all the noise that is occurring right now around this subject? And in your opinion, how can we make 2026 a fruitful year, not just in terms of numbers and data and everything, but for the common man?
Mahieash, I think the core takeaway for me, the trigger word that I heard during this discussion is what Mr. Chathuranga said: we have no sovereignty. We need to build that economic sovereignty, and we need a roadmap for that. Right? As I said earlier, we need to be building on the foreign policy angle an international coalition, a debtors coalition, if you will, South-South cooperation, whatever you wanted. I don't see in the last year that the government has been serious about that. Right? There was lack of high-level presence in BRICS, in the SCO, and so on and so forth. We need to be way more proactive in that arena. Domestically, as I said in the beginning, this has got to be a year of reconstruction and restructuring. That involves the industrial policy, that involves, addressing the massive poverty, the effects of the cyclone, and so on and so forth. I'm waiting for clarity on what exactly the lines of production Sri Lanka is targeting. We are looking at a time where there's a great shift towards new energy vehicles, towards new energy, green energy, and so on and so forth. The Chinese use this term, new quality productive forces. So what are the new quality productive forces Sri Lanka is looking at? How is the education policy going to align with this, right? That's also part of the industrial policy. And as, Taniya said, quite frankly, and honestly, I wasn't planning to come out guns blazing and say it, but she's already said it, but the Central Bank Act is a problem, right? It's a key problem in constraining economic sovereignty. Is there a roadmap in the short, medium term to find a way to move around that? Because, you can't really talk about concessional finance, about development banking, about economic sovereignty, not relying on commercial foreign debt, if the central bank is going to be in the state that it is right now.
Dananath, what exactly do you think 2026, the core issues, we discuss a lot here. What is your takeaway, and what exactly would you like the government to do, and what would your advice be?
I would like to leave with a story. In 1908, there was a lady by the name of Osialo McCarty was born in the US, and she was doing laundry for about 78 years. What she did throughout his life was saving all what she earned at a bank, and by the time she hit, I think, 80, 90 years, she went to the bank. She was illiterate. She wasn't sure how much she has saved. So the banker behind the counter gave 4 coins. She had saved $600,000 US. She didn't understand what $600,000 she could do. She said, the banker gave 4 coins. He said, tell me, what do you want to do with these 4 coins? Osialo gave 1. She said, I'm a religious person. I want to give it for my religious whatever thing, 1 coin. Second coin, I want to save it for the rest of the life that I'm going to stay. I'm too old. The third one, I want to donate it to my niece's education. The fourth one, I want to donate to a university where I'm coming from a underprivileged background to not to repeat the same mistake. But my point is, she could have done it because the value of the currency was stored for 80 years. My problem with what Shiran said was, if you change the Central Bank Act, there will be no value in the currency, that where we will go back to the same conversation that where we started. The cost of living will go up, and the poorest of the poor will be the hardest hit. It doesn't mean the central bank independence is perfect, but monetary financing is a dangerous territory which we have to defend, because that means, again, we are coming back to the conversation of cost of living. So importantly, if I were to get the 4 coins on 2026, the land reforms has to be done. That's where we can help the entrepreneurs. The labor reforms has to be done. That's where, again, we can help the entrepreneurs. Third, the monetary stability has to be kept, because otherwise there will be no value in currency. Fourth, there has to be capital and regulatory reforms, including trade, has to be done. When we do that, there will be more Usialo McCarthys, and there will be more entrepreneurs, and there will be more wealth that we can create more a wealthier nation.
Parliamentarian Mano Ganeshan.
Yeah, I should say that we are talking about economy today. Yeah, my takeaway is government should change the outlook. I think I heard Dilith, my colleague, telling, but the Chathuranga answered it with that we are a communist party. Obviously, we can't give a communism. And he also brought in China and Vietnam. Vietnam and China is not comparable to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is a country of diversity. They're a multi-party country. So it is Chinese example, communist Vietnam example won't do here. So therefore, and also I heard him time to time telling to the mic, maybe you're talking about the mic here, studio, mic and the audience, and the camera here through the audio. He says that it is the 76 years curse. In other words, he told it is not so. Now the economic transformation to this country was brought by the political movement represented by us here. These are the people who blocked every time. Reforms, land reforms, or investment reforms, public private partnership proposals, all were blocked by them. So if you call it curse, the most part of the curse should take responsibility by them. So they should change. That is what he meant. I mean, this party, this NPP, good luck to them. Change their outlook. Unless until they want for investment, nobody will come in. So that is a fact. That is the takeaway. You should take away from this.
Mr. Welgama.
Well, we should look at India. India is the 4th largest economy in the world, right? And our immediate neighbor. You look at Tamil Nadu, you look at Telangana, you look at Karnataka. They're going to be $1 trillion economies, right? Those areas. So we have a huge bond with India. They are very supportive of Sri Lanka. Even Prime Minister Narendra Modi, when we are in trouble, he is the first to come forward with funds and everything that we need. So I think my message to Minister Chathuranga is he works very hard. He's a patriot. But he should now go to India, pressurize India, revisit FTA that we have, which is decades old, and renegotiate. Because get those Indian companies to invest in Sri Lanka. That's your FDI. You know, India is bursting at the seams. You and I both know where they will be in 2030, 2040, right? They will be the 2nd largest economy by far. They're doing all the right things, and we are their immediate neighbor. So why don't we ride that crest of the wave, right, with India, and get them, pressurize them through the FDA to sell our products to India and get the Indian conglomerates to invest in Sri Lanka for the Indian market. That's what we should be doing.
Absolutely. Taniya, very quickly.
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
And also, sorry, also this railroad bridge that we were talking about earlier. I think 2015-16, it was estimated around $5 billion for this. We should do that.
Yes.
We should do that.
Exactly.
Yes.
Let me come to Taniya.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I mean, very short and a very, very productive one. We always talk about tourism economy. Tourism is not the economical answer, it is the industry. If you take India, you take China, you take Vietnam, everywhere in the world, all the Asian countries, it was the industrial economy that converted into a tourism economy. Today, China is going towards the tourism economy because there is so much to offer through the industry. And the other thing is, if this country is never turned into an industrial economy, there is no way forward. That is the number one the government needs to understand. When it comes to the central bank, I do not agree with Dananath, because central bank is the only institute that we pay the tax for them to take home. They take home the entire salary and we taxpayers pay their taxes. What nonsense is that? Dananath, that is not called for. The governor, he's the only person who spends so much of money and we are paying his lifestyle. That is not heard of. And that is not correct. And we put this government into power expecting answers, not grievances. We don't want, and the government can give answers, because take this country into an industrial economy and the tourism, or you want everything will just open windows. Every
Minister,
country in the world, including US or UK, it is the industries that run the tourism.
Minister Weeraratne,
Thank you.
I think if you heard the Excellency's President's budget speech, like this time, the budget speech without any new taxes being introduced. Good allocations for all the different sectors there, and that is to develop the country in 2026. And with the Dilith cyclone, the matter, like there wasn't any change to that investments that is going to happen in the infrastructure and all the different sectoral development. And at the same time, for the strategic investments coming to the country for new technology, to attract new technology, and also the infrastructure, as well as the build the knowledge hub in Sri Lanka. Like we are talking to multiple parties, of course, maybe it's still not available in the public, because the dialogues are going on, and certain RFIs, RFPs are floated to attract investors to come in, for example, from my ministry for AI data centers too. And those RFIs and RFPs, like they are bundled with certain subsidies to attract them, to make Sri Lanka more positive and also strategical investment for those investors to come in. And at the same time, the right policy developments are currently going on. For example, special economics, virtual economic zones policies now getting drafted, and also for funds to be created in Sri Lanka, tax pass-through as well as the capital movement facilities being introduced in those reforms, and those policy reforms are now coming into place, and it will be available soon.
Minister Chathuranga.
Yeah, so I think
very quickly.
The quick thing is that we all need to understand we are a government who believes in the industrial economy, because even in Singapore 30% is manufacturing, right? So that is where the entire government policy is in. But we also need to understand we are going from reforms perspective in terms of stability period to pay that debt that we have to pay in 2027. We have to go through this particular framework of IMF, and that we have agreed to, and that is where we are tracking against each of these indicators on a quarterly basis and ensuring Sri Lanka keeps on track. And there is zero risk on 2028. We just have to pay an additional $700 million, which is very possible given the sustainability forecast that we are in. At the same time, the other piece that we want to highlight to the public is these reforms are taking place. So that is what you would hear in the budget speech, and these reforms will take time. And when we do these things, obviously the industrialization, the entrepreneurship and the exports will tend to grow. But tourism, the energy, the manufacturing sector, fisheries and logistics, those five will drive Sri Lanka to where it should, and we are driving for a 36 billion export economy as well.
Dilith, I'll give you the last word.
Mahieash, I have to only say one thing. Learning from the countries who have developed themselves, one common feature. There's only one common feature. How they think. How those countries think. That is in fact why we propagate the entrepreneurial state. Entrepreneurial state, I must say, I must reiterate, entrepreneurial state is not about promoting entrepreneurs. How the state thinks, the state's mind, when you all start as a state think entrepreneurially, then comes the creativity, then comes, along with that comes what do you call the strategy, then comes the risk-taking perspective to it, then without which this country can't come out of it. As a short-term solution, this government should come out of their ad hoc approach to issues. They should, the way they can. I do understand they come from a very complex political background. As you can see that they must also maintain their ground level communism, socialism, and then they must talk about liberalism, neoliberalism, invite investors. But as a short-term solution, they must also show the world that it is not that we are trying to tell the world, and give us the feeling it is not the same, and we are moving forward at least in the short run, until and unless this country forms ourselves to be an entrepreneurial state, we will not be competitive. None of these solutions will come into the picture, because it's a cohesive exercise, not an ad hoc thing. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, madam and gentlemen, for coming on the show, our season's premiere. And I understand we had a lot to discuss right here, but apparently, our conversations took us in that direction which it went. But this program is there to give your views, give your viewpoints, share, and where ideas clash, this is where all that happens. So thank you very much, Dananath Fernando, CEO of Advocata, and Taniya Abeysundara, President of Ceylon United Business Alliance, Deputy Minister Chathuranga Abeysinge, the Deputy Minister of Industries and Entrepreneurship Development, and of course Deputy Minister Eranga Weeraratne of Digital Economy, and SJB Parliamentarian Mano Ganeshan, who is the leader of the Tamil Progressive Alliance, and Parliamentarian Dilith Jayaweera, leader of the Sarvajana Balaya, and Mr. Nalin Welgama, the chairman of Ideal Group, and also Shiran, Illanperuma, a political economist. Thank you very much. I appreciate, and I sincerely hope that you will keep coming back and sharing your ideas.
Thank you for having us.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for this particular discussion. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to our season's premiere of State of the Nation. I truly hope the discussion has been meaningful for you, that it's given you some fresh perspective and maybe even a bit of clarity as we all look ahead to what 2026 might be. Let's be honest with each other. This year is going to have its own challenges. There's no getting around that. But I genuinely believe Sri Lanka has the resilience to keep moving forward and even thrive. The real question on my mind, and surely in yours as well, I suspect that will this growth be just for a few or for everyone? Will this be a growth that lifts all of us up together, or will it be for a selective few? That's exactly what we'll be exploring over the next 6 months. We'll take it step by step, shining a light on important facts and stories that don't always make the headline. At Other Derana, we believe that hearing different voices and perspectives creates space for the kind of honest, thoughtful conversations our country needs to truly have in order to grow stronger. Before we go, I want to sincerely thank all our wonderful guests who joined us today. You've enriched this conversation so much, so thank you. And to everyone watching, thank you as well for spending your time with us. Please keep coming back each week, where we love to have you as part of this ongoing conversation. Well, that'll do from all of us for this edition of State of the Nation. Thank you very much for watching. Send us your comments to feedback.adncenglish@derana.lk or WhatsApp your feedback to 076 805 7933. We'll be back again next week with views you can trust and opinions you cannot ignore. See you then. Bye for now.
You fell on the concrete and nearly broke your ass, and you were bleeding all over the place, and I rushed you out to the hospital. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
Well, was something I never told you about that night.
What did you tell me?
While you were sitting in the back seat smoking a cigarette you thought was going to be your last, I was falling deep